Hello, I'm Nobby Clark. Welcome to my workshop. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I put up a video on my YouTube channel asking for a bit of sort of help or advice because I was having problems with the Dewhurst switch on my Myford lathe here. It's the switch that controls the forward and reverse movement. I'd had a sort of a couple of problems with it, which I explained in the video, and in response to that, I think it was 3 fellow YouTubers on channels that I regularly watch and I communicate with as well, sent me their old switches. There was a couple of old Dewhurst switches which I could use for spare parts if my one failed again, and there was a more modern switch, sort of still a drum type switch, but a much more up-to-date version. So that was also another option if I decided to upgrade the switch and felt I had the confidence to actually wire it up. I explained in the video that I had actually solved the problem, and I showed what the problem was and how I solved it. And in fact, the lathe now is working absolutely fine, no problem with it, and I'm actually using it all the time now. But since all this happened, I've been sent a gift by another YouTube channel. It's a channel owned by David Ticehurst. I guess a lot of you are familiar with David Ticehurst's channel. He is an English gentleman. He is retired now, but he had spent I think up to about 50 years working for a very large company in England, and from an apprentice right up to I guess training other people as well. And when he retired, he moved to Australia, to Adelaide. I'd made I think David actually contacted me sort of fairly early on, offering me sort of various bits of advice on things I was doing on my channel. He comments to me quite often, pointing out things perhaps I'm doing wrong, or better ways of doing what I'm actually doing. Now on his channel, it's a bit mixed on his channel, because he not only shows what he's doing in his home workshop in Australia, but lots of other things as well. He takes on all sorts of other projects, quite a lot for various neighbours around him, sort of helping them out. But the interesting thing about his channel is that he does a lot of videos giving you very, very good advice on all sorts of different operations in the lathe and milling machine, and various other bits of equipment as well. And a lot of it are tips which I like to call sort of old-timey tips. They're tips that I guess he's picked up over the years, and they're things that aren't taught in books. There are other channels that come up with very, very similar things as well. So his channel is really worth watching. Now I'm going to swing the camera around to the bench and show you what David has arranged to send me. Anyway, let's swing the camera around. Bear with me just a moment. Well, this remarkable thing is what David sent me. I just don't know how to thank him for this. It's absolutely amazing. It's a bit of a dream to have this, actually. It's something I would have always liked to have had on my Myford lathe, but to be honest, it was a little bit outside of my pay grade. But what it is, if you have not seen one of these before, this is it's a Newton Tesla set basically. It's a 3-phase motor, and this is actually, although 3-phase, it's run through an inverter in this box. So it's stepping our normal voltage here in the UK, 240 volts, down to the sort of operating voltage of 3-phase, which is around about 400 volts. But it also includes in this box a variable frequency drive as well. Now, the amazing thing with this is that this one is actually made specifically for the Myford. Newton Tesla make sets like this for all sorts of different brands of lathe, and this one is set up for the Myford Series 7 lathes, so it will suit mine. Mine is an ML7R. It will also fit obviously the ML7, the Super 7, and possibly some other models of Myford lathes as well. All the controls are carried out from here. I'm not going to explain what these controls do at this stage. Not a great difficulty for me, but setting this up on the lathe, because everything is pre-wired. When you get this, the box itself already has a mains lead, sort of disappeared around the back here, mains lead, and a control lead which runs from the back of the motor to the bottom of this box here. It's a sort of a multi-pin plug that just plugs into the back. Actually, if I lift that up, you can see that big plug in there. That just plugs into the back, and it's got a locking device on it here. So I've not got any wiring to do, and I'm not very good at wiring things like this. I just would leave that sort of thing to a professional to do for me, but literally it's plug and play. So all I've got to do is put the motor on the back of the Myford lathe, remove the old motor, attach this to the front side of the machine and plug it in, and away we go. I did it for a long time on how to actually, the motor's not a problem, but how to actually attach the control unit to the lathe. And in a moment I'm going to swing the camera around again to the bottom part of the lathe and just show you what the obstacle is. Not a problem, but just the obstacle. The motor is very, very heavy indeed, so even the instruction book says that when you're taking the old motor off and fitting this new motor is to perhaps have an assistant to help you. I've reached out to my eldest son, and he said he will come over at some point and lend me a bit of muscle so he can help me get the old motor off and hold this in position while I bolt it onto the motor mount on the back of the Myford lathe. The base of this has all the sort of mounting holes and slots on here, the same as the other motor, and I'm told in the instructions that this will line up with the mounting plate on the back of the lathe. See if I can lower that down without squeezing my fingers. What I will do, I've got it plugged in, and I'll just run the motor, because the first thing I do when this massive great big box arrived at my front door the other day, I dragged it inside, and when I didn't know until this stage that this was coming to me. So once I unwrapped it, I thought, well, the best thing to do is to just check that the motor's running okay first. I guess there wouldn't be a problem, but I thought do that first, because if there is a problem I can contact at Newton Tesla straight away. I sort of realised who had sent this to me. I won't tell you how I know, but I did send a photograph of it to David, just to sort of to thank him, and I don't really know how to thank him enough for giving me this gift, really. He did give me a sort of a bit of an explanation, which I'm not going to mention because I don't want to embarrass him, but something which brought a lump to my throat actually, but anyway. So anyway, I said I was going to run it. You've got an emergency stop button here that if you run into a problem, you can just press that in and just twist it round and it pops out, and simply you switch it on. Now you can see the motor's running because the keyway is actually still in it, and by turning the speed dial up. Here, around about here is the normal sort of, on this scale, normal operating scale that I run the Myford at anyway. Whether this scale will be true to the running speeds that I use on the belt system on the lathe, I don't know. But I don't know if you can pick this up. I'm going to be silent for a moment, whether you can actually hear the motor. I mean, it's so quiet. I run it up to its highest speed. Oh, there we are. And even at its high speed, it's very, very quiet indeed. There are lots of other things that I'd like to tell you, but what I'm going to do when I start to install all of this, it's going to be something that's going to be rather difficult to film doing that, because there's going to be two of us trying to get this on the back of the lathe. So I'll probably just do some little like steel clips of where it sits on the back of the lathe and showing you this, and at the end I'll go through all the features of this control box. So bear with me a moment. I'm just going to swing the camera around and so show you the base of the lathe, so you can see the sort of obstacles I've got to fitting it. Bear with me a moment. Right, well, this is the base that I've got the lathe mounted onto. When I bought the lathe, I bought it in July 2017, and the lathe was already on this stand. I'm guessing that whoever originally bought the lathe either fabricated this stand or had someone make it for them, and it's served me well. It's a very, very strong stand. It's all welded together, and it has these little brackets here that take this huge chip tray here that goes the whole sort of length of the bottom of the lathe, so that's absolutely fine. But obviously I've not got the Myford cabinet, and I'm guessing that the control unit would normally be mounted on the front of the cabinet, so it would sort of sit sort of down here somewhere, sort of upright. Now the only option I've got is to mount it somehow onto the frame itself. I can't mount it on here because the chip tray is in the way, and I've got to have that overhanging on this side, so that I can catch chips on this side, obviously, and the other side as well. So what I've decided to do is to mount the control unit here, down here. Let's tip that forward a little bit more, so it would be mounted down here. Obviously this is the old Dewhurst drum switch. Obviously that's going to be removed. Now what I've sort of planned out how I'm going to fit it. I'm going to mount a bracket sort of coming out here, and another one lower down. That will leave a gap between the two brackets, because the ventilation louvers on the control box are on the back, so leaving that sort of open, there'll be a decent airflow into the control box. Although reading the instructions, they say that it doesn't actually get very hot, so that's probably not a worry. The only other worry I've got is obviously they say you mustn't let it get damp or water or anything on the control panel to get inside. So on the top of the bracket that's coming across here, I'm going to fabricate a metal plate which will come up at an angle here. That will be underneath the part of the lathe here that contains all the change gears in here, because you do get, you can't see this dry now, but you do get some oil drips through the gap of the door here. So that will then stop anything from dropping onto the top of the control unit, and would hopefully stop any bits of swarf dropping on the top of that as well. Although that's just going to be hopefully sort of sufficiently far over that may not be a problem. So that's how I'm going to do it. I did have something which I thought might be a problem below this. I'll just move the camera down so you can see what's below this piece of wood here. See, there's a multi-drawer cabinet here. Originally this cabinet was mounted straight onto the floor, but what I did only very recently, in fact, right at the bottom here, this part, this is one of those plates on wheels that you can use for sort of helping you to move bits of furniture around and things like that. And I thought that would be useful to be able to slide the cabinet out to get behind it if I drop something behind, or to clean behind it, but I'm going to have to lose that. And I'm hoping that I can sort of clear the top of the cabinet. The cabinet will then be on the floor, which will drop it, I don't know, 4 inches or more. So I'm hoping that will clear the bottom of the control unit, and obviously I can push this cabinet a lot further back, and if necessary not use the top drawer if it happens to overhang, because the other problem also is that at the bottom of the control unit the 2 cables come out the bottom as well, so that's another thing I've got to take into consideration. So next job will be well, getting the motor on it is the primary thing to do, and then once my son's going to help me move the lathe out from the wall, I've got to move a lot of stuff around the workshop to enable us to do that, so we can get behind the lathe, and then once the motor's fitted, that can be pushed back into its normal position, and then he can sort of leave me to fit the control unit. He won't need to help me do that. That's the control unit's not too heavy. I can manage that quite happily. So there we are. What a wonderful thing. So David, if you're watching this video, which I guess you will at some point, what can I say? Just thank you so much for gifting this to the workshop. I'm absolutely knocked out by this gift. I'm so excited as well. I can't wait to install this and start using it. One other thing that I did read in the instructions is that because this motor is so beautifully balanced, that they say that these motors are less likely to cause the vibration that you get from the older style of motor, the old capacitor motors. They do tend to thump when you switch them on, and it does cause a lot of rattles around the lathe, so I'm hoping it's going to cure all those problems as well and be a little bit more peaceful in the workshop when I'm using the lathe. So anyway, I'll obviously keep everyone updated on installing this, and explain at some point a little bit more about the controls on here, and perhaps some future videos making things on the Myford lathe again with this one in operation, so you'll actually be able to hear me talking while the lathe's running as well. Well, anyway, thank you very much for joining me in the workshop again, and again thank you, David Ticehurst. you're a marvellous man. And hopefully I'll have another video for you very soon, and some sort of follow-ups on this as well. So thank you for joining me, and bye bye for now.